can we discuss here about this? You know, one thing I did notice, and I think it's important, when, especially when you're looking at the composition of a photo. Um, I think there's a lot of room in the headroom here. I think it says something about the human species themselves. About when we look at the megalodon, it says something about our size, our evolution. Here's an animal you can fit 6 human beings in. They're not very tall though. At his, if you look at the size of the jaw, there's a lot of room there. I think if I was doing this photo, I mean, I don't want to second guess the photographer here, but if I was doing, I would have put a banner up there that said something. I don't know what it would say. It's tough now because when I start looking at the face of there's the one guy singing, there's the one guy having the existential crisis, these other guys kind of doing some kind of math formula in his head, maybe longing, pining for his monocle. There's the domineering manager in the middle, and there's the two people disassociated from really kind of what's going on. Maybe add it there for filler. Um, I don't see any engagement in science. I don't know what to put on that banner. So if people could come up with an idea, what really should the banner be? Um, I mean, I think it's this photo itself. I think there should be a lot more fear. This is what I think is missing from the photo. There should be a lot more fear, even though the guy who sees the meteoric the event unfolding, he he's afraid for the wrong things. They are sitting in the large jaw, and the only reason they're sitting very casually in this large jaw is because the megalodon is dead. There's no flesh around that jaw, that megalodon's jaw. There's no muscle there. If it was, this would be a much different photo. There would be more focus here, of the 6. There wouldn't be all of this wandering off, doing the things that people who grew up in a civilized society of high culture, it wouldn't be. They would be afraid for their life, and they would be steering away from those teeth. They almost like they're not even looking at the teeth. There's nothing threatening. There's no muscle. There's no fear of a chomp happening, and then they're in there and gone. So it's very interesting here. And then I was also thinking, I think I want to leave on this note because I've covered a lot here, and I'll just leave on maybe 2 notes. One thing, it's very interesting. I think because they're alive and the megalodon is dead, and they're kind of upstaging the photo. I spend most of this photo not really seeing the shark jaw. I don't really see the shark jaw that much, and I see the people. So it's very interesting how life upstages um, things that have decomposed, inanimate, the animate, even though it's a flat photo, it's a still point in time and life. But there tends to be more focus um, on the people that are alive. And then I was just thinking one other thought, and I'll leave it. They're also dead now. The people, most likely, the people who are in this photo, um, are no longer alive. They probably lived out their normal lives with their families, and um, maybe the guy on the far right took up a singing career after this. Maybe he had maybe not a big career. Maybe something, the lounges of the 40s. I guess if you look at this, happened in the 30s, which I'm still checking on, but I'm going to believe that it happened in the 30s. And then you had a whole World War II. Some of these guys could have went off to war. Um, some of them could have been helped building rebuilding the United States after the war. Went through the 50s, the Red Scare of the 50s. You think of that, the Cold War. Went through all of that, raised their families. Went through the 70s and 80s, and are gone. And now it would be interesting to have a reunion now to see this jaw and to see these gentlemen in their current remains. And that would be an interesting photo too. scary in a lot of respects, and I don't know what the caption to put on such a photo. And I don't even, to be honest, I don't even know what the purpose would be to have such a photo. But I'm thinking about it now. There's kind of, they're upstaging. Who would be upstaging it then, if they were there in their skeletal remains, and then you have the Megalodon, and it's not its skeletal remains, but um, its key characteristic, the thing that people, when you think about a shark, no one's really thinking. Well, some people think about the tip of the shark. They think about that fin, but most of it, the other fishy parts, they just think, well, every fish has that. But here, clearly, it's all about the jaw. That's the thing with the most personality in the shark. And then those gentlemen in their remains, I mean, I guess the interesting thing is they would have legs and they would be standing upright, or people would say, oh, they have the potential to stand upright. They would see their jaws, even their 6 jaws, do not match up to this. This could be an interesting photo. Now, the more I'm going through it, the more rich the analogies start to become. One tooth is like the size of um, mustache eyebrow guy, his head. So one tooth is very close. Now, I don't know if that's, yeah, no, it's pretty big, okay. And then that's, I don't really have much more to add to this photo, but most of the video logs going forward of this new series will be like this. It's about, how do I decompose this picture? What was the intent of this picture? What was the impact this had on society? I would say this had an impact on a lot of grammar school kids who wanted to become scientists. And I'm sure, like, some of them, had moments in their life similar to this. Maybe not a shark jaw, maybe not, a photo next to the thing that they invented. Maybe it's a more humble, scientific life. Maybe a patent. They put a patent together. But I think this brought a whole generation, at least my generation, to thinking that I could one day reach the high point in my, if I choose to be a scientist. Again, it was a very generic term, scientist. That I could someday be sitting in the jaws of a large megalodon, and because that's the truth. To be honest here, when I was thinking about this photo as a scientist, I never really said what science. I did think maybe they discovered the thing that's around them, but I just thought them as general scientists, and I never saw scientists focusing on one field.